Some people need a lot of stimulation. In this video, I want to challenge you to go the other way. Because you learn the best when you are calm and focused. So here's another educational meditation, aka edutation. This is part 2 from the book Scattered Minds by Gabor Maté. This part is about the effects of attention deficit disorder. Whether it's low self-esteem, workaholism, drivenness, or the inability to say no, none of these features are unique to attention deficit disorder. It just means you're human. So now it's time to put on your headphones, take an active but comfortable position, and let's get started.
Take a comfortable and active position, because the first few minutes will be a guided meditation, after which the educational part will start. So start noticing the areas at which your body is touching the floor or the chair that you're in contact with. And notice and start noticing the sounds around you. Maybe there's cars, people, or maybe just your breath. And now just bring your attention to the sensation of your breath when it's entering your nose. Now, notice that there might still be some thoughts going around in your mind. And you just allow them to be there. You're noticing the temperature of the room on your skin. Maybe it's warm, maybe it's cold, maybe it's just right. And you're noticing any tension that you might have in your body, maybe your back, maybe your legs, maybe your neck. And we just let that be there for what it is. And now you start noticing the feeling that you have in your chest. Maybe it's tense, maybe it's relaxed, maybe it's heavy, maybe it's light. You just observe it. And you slowly go to your thoughts. You notice that there are still thoughts in your mind. But you're becoming aware that there's a certain power that lies in your will to choose where you put your attention. So you're deciding to slowly scan through your body, starting with your legs and lower legs. Just notice any sensation that you feel on the inside of your upper legs and your belly, your chest, and your arms, neck and head. And you take another look inside of your own mind to see if there's any space to learn, to open up, to be curious. You might notice a lot of thoughts, or maybe you're feeling quite calm. Maybe you feel like a big lake where the wind and the waves are on the surface, but deep down it's nice and calm. And you become more and more curious about attention and focus, what it can bring you, and the effects that it will have if you have poor attention skills. So the first effect is dissociation. Just imagine that you are a little mouse and you're being chased by a cat. The cat grabs you and you want to fight or flight, but this is impossible. Nature has a defense mechanism for this. It's called dissociation. It's a psychological anesthetic. It will numb you. It's a survival technique. And you might find during the day that you are constantly tuning out or disassociating if you have poor attention skills when you're having a conversation. It can be very difficult to let go of this unconscious psychological defense system. You cannot do that just by will. And you might also notice during your day that when you have to do a task, you are either over aroused or under aroused. When you are over aroused, you cannot focus on a task. And when you are under aroused, you cannot get going on a task. And you might try to think yourself into focus. But attention is not a function of the intellect. It is actually connected to your emotions more than to your intellect. The attentional system in your brain is also closely connected to your visual system. So remember that where your attention goes, your energy flows. Where you look has a big influence on your attention. And now you might have your eyes closed, but you still notice that you're able to focus on certain topics, sensations, even without looking. And talking about not looking, the origin of shame comes from not being seen or being cut off from the parent, having lost a connection. And connection and attention are most important for attention. And feeling anxious does the opposite. If a child is constantly, unconsciously insecure about its emotional connection to the world and to its caregivers, it cannot put its mind into schoolwork mode. And doing schoolwork might be praised by the parents, but deep down, praise and criticism are giving the same message. It tells the child that the parent puts value on what the kid does, not on who he is. And this again has to do with a secure connection. So the child or adult might become obsessed with certain topics, and on the outside it will look like as if the person has a lot of willpower. But the only commonality is persistence. All the power of an obsession comes from the unconscious, and it rules the individual. Whereas a person with true will is in command of his own intentions. And you might find yourself having a counter will reaction. This feeling of wanting to go against what other people are saying. It's an automatic resistance put up when you are trying to gain a sense of control over your own identity and independence. And the children that are most at risk for problems later in life are those who felt so threatened that their counter will has completely become silent. And we know this as being a people pleaser, not having the ability to say no. And this low self-esteem can be felt constantly on the background of someone's life, and the person might make up for it by becoming a workaholic, being extremely driven or obsessed, and even telling him or herself that something isn't worth much if you enjoy doing it. Something is only valuable if it came with blood, sweat and tears, so that they can convince themselves of their own self-worth by striving to achieve something that is against their own nature. So, if the child grows up and doesn't feel unconditionally accepted, the child will learn to work for this feeling of acceptance and attention. And being wanted becomes a drug to keep the self-esteem artificially pumped up. But why do you still behave according to patterns from 20, 30 years ago? This has to do with implicit memory. All the things you have experienced have shaped you and your preferences, your emotional reactions, but you cannot consciously remember them. But they became your personality. And understanding implicit memory also makes it easier to understand why many people with poor attention skills have problems with authority figures. But this is simply an implicit memory of a childhood where authority figures were giving the child the feeling that they were unseen or treated unfairly. And this is why you might feel like a child when you are in a relationship with someone of authority. It's your implicit memory. And this, in combination with counter will to go against what you've been told, will deeply affect someone's relationship to society and politics. And you might find that it's difficult to trust in relationships, and to make yourself open and vulnerable. The paradox is that you might feel like you're craving for human contact and feeling like you belong to a place, but at the same time you also prefer to be alone instead of with others. Just like Mozart, Einstein, Edison, they all had traits of ADD because they were sensitive, and both ADD and creativity can come from being sensitive. And let's see if you can still be sensitive. Start noticing the position of your body, the sounds around you. Maybe slowly start moving some of your fingers and toes. If you think this educational meditation was valuable, please give a like or leave a comment. If you have any tips, I hope that this was educational, that you learned something, and that you will come back for the last out of the 3 videos about scattered minds, where we talk about healing. Thank you.